Roll call, please.
Councilmember Overton. Councilmember Overton, you may need to unmute on your end.
Here.
Councilmember
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Claffey.
Here.
Councilmember Kramer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Purdock.
Here.
Mayor Slotin.
Present. All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I'll start. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eagle is turned the wrong way.
Eagle's going the wrong way.
All right, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Have
No,
not.
Mr. Mayor.
Go to item number 1. Discussion about the election and/or appointment of city council member and city treasurer. Recommended I assumed that Melissa would, our city clerk would take this item.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and council members, the City Council is being asked today to provide direction on whether to appoint nominated council members to serve another term in lieu of holding an election for those seats, and provide direction on whether to appoint an elector to serve as city treasurer in lieu of holding an election for that seat. On August 12th, 2022, the deadline to file nomination papers for those interested in running for city council and city treasurer expired. The terms of 2 city council seats and 1 city treasurer are expiring this November, and staff received complete nomination papers from 2 candidates for city council, the current incumbents, Dirk Slotin and Russ Kramer. Because there are the same number of available offices and candidates, the Elections Code gives the City Council the option to appoint those candidates in lieu of holding an election. The Government Code, however, prohibits an appointment that would result in a majority of council members serving by way of appointment. For that reason, if the council chooses to appoint the incumbents in lieu of an election, if any future seat would become unfilled before the next election, the City Council would not have the option at that time to fill the available council seat via an appointment and would have to hold a special election at that time. In addition, there were no nominations for city treasurer. The City Council has the option to appoint a qualified elector to the City Council seat in lieu of holding an election, or authorize the election for city treasurer to move forward, which allows for a candidate to be nominated during the write-in period of September 12th through October 25th. According to the Clearlake Municipal Code, whenever a vacancy occurs in the office of city treasurer, the city manager is automatically appointed to fill the vacancy until a successor is appointed or elected. This has happened since 2006, since there has not been an elected city treasurer since that time. If the council decides to make appointments to those seats, those must be made before the 75th day before the election, which is August 25th, this Thursday. So the
Go ahead.
The primary options for the council are to hold the election for all 3 seats, to appoint the two qualified candidates to office and hold an election in November for city treasurer, or appoint a qualified elector to the city treasurer seat and appoint the 2 qualified city council candidates to the council seats. So there are resolutions attached to the staff report. Should those be taken up separately, you would just fill in the name of someone you wish to appoint to the treasurer, and then 1 resolution for each of the nominated candidates. So I
Okay.
can answer questions if you have them.
Councilwoman Overton or Councilman Claffey, you have any comments on this item?
I do have a question. If we did move forward with the election, is there any cost to the city?
There is a cost to the city. We do pay the County of Lake to consolidate our elections. They process our elections. They charge us every election year, and that is a budgeted amount within the administrative services budget.
So maybe I should ask the reverse question. Is there a savings to not going through the electoral process?
There would be a savings if we do not move
Great.
forward with an election.
Thank you.
Any, Councilwoman Overton, do you have any comments? Are you unmuted? Okay. All right. Anybody here? Councilman Kramer?
Yeah, so just so I understand the three options, option number 2, if we take no action, and by the code that it'll just go forward with the election of all 3 positions.
That's correct. If the council does not take action by Thursday, then the election does move forward for all 3 seats, or whichever seat you don't take action on.
Vice Mayor Purdock?
Well, I thought this was going to be a pretty simple decision for me, and just move forward until you shared the part in number 1 that if we had someone that had to leave for whatever purposes and we would need to appoint a new position, that we would no longer be able to do that, to take that option. We would have to hold a special election, which can be very expensive, to Councilmember Claffey's question, which now gives me a little reservation in moving forward with option 2. And I'd like to hear any additional discussion, or if we have any member of the public that would like to speak on this.
Yeah, I think we had the same issue last election cycle as well, where we decided to move forward with, or the council at the time decided to move forward with the electoral process because it removed our flexibility to appoint if something were to occur.
Exactly, and that was kind of my point, having, since we went through that, Councilman Claffey.
I have one question for Melissa. If we go forward with the election of the 2 council positions, can we appoint the treasurer positions before that? In other words, I'm concerned that if the treasurer is on the ballot, that it will take a minimal amount of votes to have a city treasurer elected, which we haven't done for 16 years.
Well, actually, there is a process for write-in candidates.
Right. No, that's what I meant.
But they would have to file as a write-in candidate.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody does that and get write-in candidate, we could have an elected city treasurer.
That is correct. So if the council chooses not to appoint an elector by the 75th day, by Thursday, then it would proceed and the write-in period would open, and an elector of the city who got no more than 30, at least 20 signatures could run as a write-in.
Right, and our current appointee is our city manager, correct?
That is correct.
So we could appoint,
So can we appoint our city manager as city treasurer before Thursday and still hold the election for the 2 council positions?
No, the appointment to city treasurer must qualify as an elector.
I think, my opinion is I think we need to go forward with the election.
I concur.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes, as do I.
All right, we open it to the public. We have anybody in the public who wants to comment on this item? Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, Elizabeth Larson with Lake County News.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just a quick question. Has there been any consideration I know I think it was about 6 or so years ago, there was an attempt to make the treasurer an appointed position like it was the clerk, and for some reason that failed. Has there been any consideration of trying to do that again in order to kind of deal with this on a more permanent basis?
Great question.
I think there has been discussions at the council to go the same action, so to do the same as the city clerk. Just that we haven't got our.
What's that process, Madam Clerk?
general election?
Yes, this was brought before the voters in 2016 for both the city clerk and the city treasurer to transform from an elected to an appointed. And at that time, the treasurer did not pass.
Right.
That would be put forward by the council, could put together an ordinance and put it before the voters, just as, any other measure. And so we could do that
And
during the next election cycle if that's the direction of the council.
Too late now to put that.
Right.
forward.
Correct.
All right. Anybody else from the public? Thank you, Elizabeth. Anybody else, Madam Clerk?
No further hands raised on the Zoom.
All right, I'll take it back to the council. What is the council decides on this?
Election.
Election, and which is then, which election?
Essentially, item 2,
That's, excuse me, is that number 2?
option 2.
No.
No?
Take no action. One.
Which one do we need to
One.
approve, Madam Clerk?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading take no action as taking no action.
We want to go for the election. Which one do we need to take?
Option 1, hold the election for all 3 seats, which requires no action. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do we need to have a vote on this, or do we just?
No, we would just ask the council
was
not
reading
to take
options.
any action.
So the council is not going to take any action on this item. All right.
Madam Clerk, can you just clarify the deadlines for writing candidates for that treasurer position?
Sure. The write-in candidate period for all 3 seats opens on September 12th and would continue through October 25th. And in order to qualify as a write-in candidate, the person would need to be a registered voter of the city of Clearlake and pick up nomination papers and get at least 20, but no more than 30 signatures of other qualified voters within the city.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to item number 2. Consideration of contract with executive recruitment firm for finance director. Mr. Flora.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members. So recently found out that our finance director is going to be moving to another position, and wanted to take advantage of the special meeting today in order to try and get council's approval to hire an executive recruitment firm if needed. So in checking around a little bit, it looks like the normal cost for this type of service is a little bit over $25,000, which is my spending authority without council approval. And if we do need to move forward with this, I hate to wait a couple of additional weeks for the next council meeting, so I wanted to talk about it today. I would say that we do have some possible sort of in-county candidates that have developed over the weekend, so it may not end up being necessary to go through this process, but I would still like to have authority to do so if in the next week or two it seems like that's the direction we need to go. So.
All right. Do we have any questions from Mr. Flora?
Not at this time.
Mr. Councilman Claffey, any comments on this item?
Yeah, I'm okay with giving authorization for this. I just had a question. Are there any requirements in the job description or just the nature of the job that requires them to be in person? Is there a potential for a remote or a hybrid candidate to also be considered?
Are you talking about for the director position itself or for the recruitment process?
For the director position itself.
Technically, no. We think that, it's difficult to manage staff over the long term remotely, and so there's some things like that would be difficult. We have had some discussions with consulting firm that we use for services remotely about taking on more responsibilities and looking at the position a little bit differently. But we had some conversations internally about this again, and still feel like our best case scenario is to have someone here as often as possible.
Councilwoman Overton, do you have any comments?
Joyce, are you muted on your end? We,
No comment? Just one comment on my end. I think it's obviously a position that we need to fill. I don't think we need to shoulder our police chief with it again. So, yes, I'm looking forward to filling this position as soon as we possibly can with a qualified person for that. So,
I agree as well.
any other discussions on this item? If not, let's see, we'll go to adjournment.
We have,
Yeah, we gotta have a vote.
Okay,
we concur.
concur, yeah.
I make a motion to authorize the city manager to select and hire from an executive recruitment firm and authorize him to spend up to $30,000.
I second that motion.
I didn't open it up for public comment, so anybody from the public wants to comment on this item?
we do have a hand raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Please. I'm sorry, I forgot that.
Elizabeth Larson, go ahead.
Okay, we can still deliberate.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, real quick. So if potential other candidates, I guess locally, if you go ahead and hire locally, that would mean you wouldn't have to go ahead and pay the search firm, correct?
That's correct. If we find a candidate that we like, then we would not move forward with the consulting firm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're back to the council. We had a motion and a second.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion? If not, let's vote. Yay.
Oh, forgive me, I do not have that pulled up. I thought
That's
were
right, we can't
doing
do
a
it
roll
that
call.
way because we have members.
All right, we have a
Yep.
voice call vote.
Speaking of which, did we do, I guess the first motion didn't recall a voice vote, so we're fine. We'll just do the roll call here.
Okay, roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Claffey,
Aye.
Councilmember Overton,
Councilwoman Overton? Joyce?
I think she has her hand raised, trying to indicate not.
Okay, we'll consider your hand raised as an aye.
Can we
All
do
right.
that?
Why not?
Councilmember Kramer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Purdock,
Aye.
Mayor Slotin.
Aye. With that, we adjourn. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
at